I'm sure all of you enjoy the beauty of flowers, which are actually the reproductive organ of plants. The term pollinator actually refers to the animal that transfers pollen from the male part of the flower to the female part in order to bear fruit for successful reproduction. There are a group of plants in tropical forest with amazing chambers that can trap very tiny beetle pollinator, which are smaller than a grain of rice, inside their flowers. What is the chamber for? In order to answer this question, I went to tropical forest in Borneo for wild camping in order to observe these plants intensively throughout the day and night. I found that each flower can only be functional for one day, from early morning until the next morning, and each flower can change sex from female to male within one day. In order to illustrate this trapping mechanism, let's imagine this is a flower which can open its petal to open its chamber. So, when the female reproductive organ of the flower becomes mature in the morning, the petal of the flower will move and opens its chamber. And this opening is actually much smaller in the real situation, that only very small beetles can enter, but not the large insects that may damage the flower. So, beetles with pollen grains, which are represented by the dots here, will enter the pollination chamber. And the pollens will be directly transferred to the female reproductive organ to set fruit. Later, the chamber will close in the afternoon, trapping the beetle pollinator inside this chamber. Later, when the male reproductive organ of the plant becomes mature, pollen grains will be released. So the beetle that entered earlier will be trapped inside this chamber, and the pollen grains released will be carried by this beetle. So later, in the next morning, this flower will drop, and the beetles with more pollens will be escaped and go to another newly mature flower that opens its chamber and will be trapped again later on. So this kind of cycle helps the plant to reproduce successfully. And this kind of trapping is so interesting that we conducted further study to study the correlation of this kind of opening and closing with the daily activity pattern of the beetles. And I will share with you more if I can continue in this competition as a finalist. Thank you.